Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another Total War Warhammer online battle. We've got another 2v2 for you today. I am playing as the vampires, my teammate is playing as the dwarves, and then our opponents are playing as the Greenskins and Brettonia. So, real quick army composition, not going to hit on it too much, but I've got basically a main line of skeleton spearmen, because Brettonia has a lot of cav. I've got some Graveguard to back them up. Some Crypt Horrors. I do have the Claw of Nagash Mortis engine. And then my Lord is Helman Gorst in his chariot thing. The one that gives him regenerative effects. And then back here I do have a unit of Blood Knights and one unit of Fell Bats, basically just to interrupt charges and all that kind of stuff. Blood Knights being one of the better cavalry units in the game, and having anti-large capabilities could be very useful against Brettonia. The dwarves, who are my teammate, primarily using dwarf warriors as their mainline infantry, does have a couple of quarrelers, does have two thanes, using Ungrim as their leader, and then has a couple of Longbeards, unit of slayers, and one cannon unit as well as a unit of Iron Drake flamethrower infantry, which is an interesting choice. We'll see how that plays out in the battle. As far as the Orc Boys go, we've got some Biggins, Orc Boy Boar Boy Biggins, so large mounted anti-cavalry units. Got a couple of we got a Doom Diver, we've got some Black Orcs, quite a few Black Orcs in fact. Wow, lots of Black Orcs. That's like six Black Orcs. Wow, man. That's pretty much all of his funding right there. Goblin Big Boss and a Night Goblin Shaman over here, as well as a Orc Warboss on a flying unit, on a Wyvern, or Wyvern, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Brettonia has, of course, Peasant Bowmen, some Cav, Knights of the Realm, some Grail Knights, a couple Spearmen, a Damsel Wizard, and then over here, a pretty decent-sized flying contingent with a unit of Pegasus Knights, two Paladins, and their Lord, who I think is just a generic... Yeah, that's not Lewin Leoncoeur, that's just a generic Lord. But that's basically the armies. So we're going to try and kind of outmaneuver each other. They didn't have anything Vanguard deployed behind us. And normally the vampires are a rush faction, and I would normally, if it was a one-on-one, I would rush in with the vampires, because the vampires have no ranged capabilities. But given that I'm paired up with the dwarves, and dwarves actually have pretty good ranged capabilities, I wanted to give them the chance to kind of make use of that. The other thing is the dwarves play very defensively generally, and they're pretty slow, and they have no cavalry. So if I go rushing in, my dwarf ally is really not going to be able to keep up with me. His units just aren't fast enough, and he's much better playing in a relatively defensive position instead. So he's going to form his line kind of over here. I'm going to form mine over here. We're going to tweak things and adjust them a little bit as we go. I am going to start moving my Blood Knights off over here to threaten these Boar Boy Biggins. I don't know that they could take them. I think my Blood Knights would still come out on top if it was even with the two, just because Blood Knights are ridiculously good, but they would take a lot of damage. I think it would pretty much be trading my Blood Knights for their 2 units of Boar Boys. Ultimately, I just really kind of wanted to threaten them and close off this flank over here so that my ally can't get sideswiped. That's what I was really trying to do, and it seemed to work. Our Greenskin opponent pulls their forces back. Now, you can see Brettonia is kind of moving out this way, and they're going to start forming up like along this line right here. So I'm going to actually take my vampires and reform them right along here to kind of line up with our Dwarven allies. Now, over here, you can see we've got the orcs. They're all lined up in a nice line, and Brettonia pretty much just has cavalry. Cavalry flying units, and then these peasant bowmen. I think they only have, let's see, one unit of spearmen at arms, and one more over here, and I think that is pretty much their their melee infantry force. They really don't have much to throw into the main melee fight, so Brettonia is really going to be kind of a supporting character in this battle, if you will, although their cavalry is definitely going to be a threat and a danger, as well as their flying units. So something to keep in mind. I do have my fell bats kind of hanging back here waiting for the charge so they can get in there and break it up. I'm going to move Helm Gorst forward a little bit and see if I can get some damage in. I believe I'm going to fire off a spell, maybe Gaze of Nagash, I think is what I end up using. It's been a while. It's actually been a few days since I played this battle, so forgive me if I don't remember. Of course, I do get a miscast, naturally, and that knocks off half of his health just right there. So, and I don't know that he even actually got the spell. The spell didn't even go off properly, so that was not helpful, losing half of my lord's health before the fighting even began. But, you know, sometimes these things happen. You can see back here, the Greenskins are pulling their Boarboy Biggins around behind our flanks, which isn't good for us. I am going to start moving my line back so it lines up better with my Dwarven allies. Right now, it would be pretty easy to get around the side of us, and that wouldn't be good. But the Black Orcs are going to start charging in, and they're going to get some work done, because Black Orcs are very tough infantry, and honestly far better than anything either myself or our opponent brought. In a straight-up infantry fight, we would definitely lose this battle. Black Orcs are tough and nasty. Dwarven Cannon doing some major work on them, though. Look at this, down to half health, and this one was also cannon damage as well. Had to have been. So, Cannon definitely paying for itself, getting some major kills in against some very tough infantry. I'm going to move my Fell Bats in to intercept this charge, get rid of that charge bonus, and the Fell Bats are not going to last long in that fight. They're going to take a lot of damage and go down very quickly, but I did stop that charge and allowed my Spearmen to get in there. Over here, the flying contingent from Brettonia is basically going to come in and wreck my Blood Knights, just get charged at them. And this Goblin Big Boss is going to charge in too, but Blood Knights are tough. They are anti-large. All of these units are considered large because I believe that Big Boss is on a mount. Yes, he is. So they're going to have a bonus against all these units. And then I'm going to move my Grave Guard over here to help out in that fight and try and keep my Black Knights around. My Black Knights are in rough shape, though, already. The main fight over here, we've got Helm Gorst already down to half because of that nasty miscast, and he's going to start taking damage from this Orc War Boss who's going to attack him. I do fire off a Invocation of Nehek at some point. I think it's already in place, actually. But it's not going to save my infantry from all these Black Orcs. There's just way too many Black Orcs. They're going to basically eat me alive. I did summon in a White King. Crypt Horrors. He's around somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where he went, but there is a unit of... Oh, here he is. There's a White King. And he's coming around to assist and basically lend some support to my units that are basically falling apart at this point. All of the Brettonia Cav is coming back here to get rear charges and flank, and my lines are falling apart very quickly. Luckily, they are basically leaving the dwarves alone, which is good. So even though I'm taking all this damage, I am also dealing out a significant amount of it with my Crypt Horrors, with my Grave Guard, with some of my supporting units, and the dwarves are basically not getting beat up. So they're basically the reserve force in this case. They're getting some action in with their quarrelers. They're getting a little bit engaging with these Brettonian spearmen, but that's really not a significant engagement. The Black Orcs are definitely the biggest threat, without a doubt. And all the cavalry. The cavalry is definitely an issue as well. My Blood Knights have gone away at this point. I lost them very early before they could really do anything, which isn't good, especially since they're a very expensive unit. My White King is trying to support my Crypt Horrors, who are doing pretty poorly. They're falling apart. They're not... These Black Orcs are just too tough, and then these big uns are coming in, and they deal that large additional damage to large foes, like the Crypt Horrors, so the Crypt Horrors aren't going to last very long either. Skeleton Spearmen, obviously no match for Black Orcs in any way, shape, or form, ever. So that's not going to be a fight that's going to work for me very well. All in all, my army is basically in shambles at this point. Although we have done some work. We definitely did some work on the Black Orcs. My teammate, my Dwarven teammate, definitely did help. Sent in some units to help reinforce. Got Ungrim into the fight. Got his Thanes into the fight. Some of his melee infantry. Helped me kind of repel all the Black Orcs. And with all those Black Orcs off the field, we're not in quite as bad of a position as it looks, even though my army is basically all gone at this point. I've pretty much got myself, a couple of Crypt Horrors, and somewhere I've got a unit of Grave Guard that isn't completely and totally destroyed. It might be this one right here. And that's basically all that I have left. Helman Gorse got killed because he had so much damage on him already from the overcast or the miscast. You can see the Iron Drake flamethrowers actually doing some cool stuff. They're chasing off the Orc War Boss and doing some damage there. Pretty cool unit. You don't get to see that one very often just because it's so expensive that I really don't feel like it gets used all that often. My orcs the remainder of my forces have pretty much all grouped up in this little area. I'm trying to keep them together so they don't crumble and fall apart. Vampires, if they start crumbling, they are not going to live. They will just start losing men and losing more health. And these units really can't afford to lose any more health because they're all pretty much destroyed. I do have this unit of Grave Guard. 68 men left there. My White King, luckily, is at pretty much full health. And then I've got 2 of my 9 Crypt Horrors left in this unit. And 18 Grave Guard. This is the entirety of my force at this point. Not good. Dwarves, luckily, much healthier. They are much healthier overall. I'm going to charge my guys in and start trying to pick off specific easy targets with the remainder of my forces, like these spearmen these spearmen from Brettonia, spearmen at arms. And over here, we've got the flying contingent. And then over here, we've got basically the remainder of our enemies. So they're healthy units. They got a unit of Goblin Wolf Riders. Not really that big of a deal. A couple Peasant Bowmen and a couple of very beaten up Black Orcs. And then unfortunately back here, there's the Brettonian cavalry contingent and a very healthy unit of spearmen that are just kind of hanging back, just sitting there, not really doing anything, but also not taking any damage either. So my teammate is going to basically start forming up in a defensive position right here in the middle, and I'm going to pull all of my units right into the middle of his defensive position, because as I said, these are the only units that I have left. I have 4 guys, 4 units to control, and these Grave Guard are not really going to last too much longer. They've got 9 left. These Crypt Horrors, 2 left. They're not going to last very long either. And it looks like his Doom Diver has opened fire again, which also is not helping me at all. And as far as the defensive position goes, this isn't a great one. Our lines are kind of everywhere. I mean, we've got like a line here. Looks like there's some sort of a line here. There's just a blob of random stuff in here. I mean, this is not really a formation. Luckily, our opponents are kind of reforming as well. We're getting the battle line drawn up over here. A couple flanking units, and then the Brettonian cavalry contingent is coming around. So we're basically surrounded at this point. Things are not looking good. If we look at the tactical map, you can see, yeah, we're basically surrounded. All of our guys are right here, and they're everywhere else. It's not good for us. Not good for us at all. But luckily my units, the ones that are very damaged, have not run away yet. They might get a couple more kills in. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. We have started to kind of form a defensive position. A little bit. But these units are going to start coming in to attack us. As are these units over here. And these units. And these units. So everything is basically charging in to kill us at once. Which, honestly, is the smart way to do this. Try and overwhelm the lines. The Iron Drakes. Doing some cool things with the flamethrowers. Causing these spearmen to waver. I am going to charge my remaining units in there and try to get them to break as quickly as possible. And then, now that they've broken, I'm going to move on. And I'm going to start chasing them off a little bit. And then I'm going to move my guys right back into the middle of this fight where they can stay alive and hopefully help pick off a couple targets. Because even though there's only 2 Crypt Horrors left, they do still cause poison. They do still have poison attacks, which can really slow down an opponent and weaken them and make them lower their fighting capabilities. So, and my White King is at full health, so I'm not too worried about him. I'm going to start charging these units into this fight, get them in there, hope that the Crypt Horrors can get a little bit of work done, cause some of those poison attacks, and get these dwarves and or get the Greenskins and our Brettonian enemies slowed down a little bit. And you can see he's going to start pulling their cavalry out. We do have Itchy Nuisance, a Greenskin spell. I think it's from the lore of the Little Wa, which is basically a debuff that's affecting all these units, not helping us at all. And at this point, I'm down to my White King and my relatively healthy Graveguard unit. The Crypt Horrors have broken and disappeared off the battlefield, and my unit of damaged, very damaged Graveguard has also broken and basically crumbled, fallen apart. So I've got my guys, I'm trying to choose my targets very wisely. We're kind of reforming up over here. They're getting ready for another big charge. And their lord comes charging in right here. Right there in the middle of the fight. Which is not good. That was a very poor decision. Because what could cause you to lose? They definitely have the advantage here right now. As far as positioning. But if they lose their lord, it's going to be a very bad day. Because Brettonian units, especially their peasant units, like these peasant bowmen and spearmen at arms, they have pretty low morale. They're not professional, high-quality units. So when his lord eats it, when the Brettonian leader dies, you can see we're going to get a mass rout. And a lot of these units are going to start running away and wavering. So poor decision to charge his lord in like that and leave him vulnerable. And it's not going to take too long before some of these guys start to just flee the battlefield. We still have a pretty strong position. There's a lot of Longbeards left. A lot of Dwarf Warriors left. The Dwarf force is definitely able to repel this attack now that a lot of these units have run away. And we go ahead and win it. By the skin of our teeth, thanks to my opponent. Thanks to basically the opponent's lord chasing in and my dwarven ally staying healthy. As far as damage goes and stuff like that, I didn't get all that many kills. This unit of Graveguard that stayed alive till the end did all right. My Crypt Horrors did okay. But a lot of what we did was just health damage, just whittling down the enemy army. My White King only getting 15 kills, but he was definitely essential at keeping my army together. Without him, my army would have disappeared entirely a long time ago. My Dwarven ally, on the other hand, pretty decent amount of kills spread kind of across everything. His cannon did very well against some very tough Black Orc units. Iron Drakes did all right. His Slayers actually did all right. My Dwarven ally, Aragon, definitely, I would say he'd won the fight for us, more than I did. I lost a lot of men in that initial engagement because everything seemed to attack me. Now, as for our opponents, this unit of Black Orcs did really well. This unit of Black Orcs did really well. I don't think the other ones really were cost effective. Black Orcs are, off the top of my head, either 1,000 or 1,100 each. They're pretty expensive. They are very tough, but they're pretty expensive. This Doom Diver did okay. These Boar Boy Biggins did all right. And as far as Brettonia goes, their flying units did okay. I mean, overall, these units did okay. Their spearmen got a couple kills, more than I thought they did. Overall, it really just came down to me dealing a lot of damage in the beginning, although not getting very many kills, and then my Dwarven ally, Aragon, basically being able to stay healthy long enough to really make a difference in the end, where he could just kind of mop everything else up. So, there you have it, guys, another 2v2. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I do appreciate it, and it really helps out my channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. There are links in the video's description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll definitely see you next time.